Ding. All right.
Yes.
So, we are live. Let's begin. Hello, we're the Tesla Quartet. And I'll change my name at some point so you know it's actually Ross. My name's not Tesla. But anyway, thank you for joining us for the fifth discussion, our Zoom in on Bártok. This week we're joined by Károly Schranz, who is the founding second violinist of the Takács Quartet. He retired from the group a few years ago, but he, in his 40 some, how many years was it? 43 years?
It's only 43. 43.
only 43 years with the Takács Quartet. Studied Bartók not only as a student back in Hungary, but then also with prominent musicians who were personal friends of Bartók, and over the course of their career have performed, countless cycles of all the Bartók quartets. We have a very special connection because early on in the career of the Tesla Quartet, when we were in graduate school, we studied with Kórcsy, as he's affectionately known by his friends, with the Takács Quartet at the University of Colorado in Boulder. So we're delighted to have Kórcsy with us this evening, and we'll be discussing Bartók's fifth string quartet, and also, Kórcsy will talk about his life in the quartet and his experience playing Bartók for so many years. So help me welcome Kórcsy, and I think I would like to start off with a question. When we first approached you to be a guest speaker for us, you immediately said, "Oh, I want to talk about Bartók 5." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. You can talk about, if you have any others or any other weeks that we would prefer." No, I want to talk about Bartók 5. So he immediately knew that this was what he wanted to discuss, and he has, you had some very strong feelings for it. So could you tell us what it is that you find special or captivating about the fifth string quartet? What is it that made you so excited to want to talk about this particular quartet?
First of all, good evening or good afternoon for everybody who's listening. Yeah, I mean, when you ask Ross about the Bartók, which quartet I'm ready to talk, for me it was immediately Bartók 5. Because of there's so many personal memories, and I think for us, for the Takács Quartet, is very important kind of, our future was depending of this decision. First of all, our group was extremely fortunate to go to Banff, Canada in, I think, 1981, and study with Zoltán Székely, the first one is of the Hungarian String Quartet. He had a residency in this beautiful Rocky Mountain place. And we just put everything, all the concerts away to study it with him. Because before this, we didn't play many Bartók. Maybe we played the second quartet. And working with him, he was a very good friend of Béla Bartók and colleague, and it was just amazing. We had 2-3 lessons every week, and basically we played for him all the quartets, all the Bartóks, and that was the first step for us. And another important thing was just we had a question for Zoltán Székely and about the first movement, the bow stroke of the first movement of the fifth quartet. And he was already 75 or 78 years old. Oh, just you should ask for Denis Koromza. He was viola player of the Hungarian Quartet. I mean, he was working with Bartók on this quartet especially. And then Gábor Takács asked a letter, and then basically for us it was a life-changing, because the relationship with Koromzai and Székely, that was the reason we left Hungary and moved to Boulder, Colorado, working for the university for a long time.
That's great. So this piece really, I was life-changing. It sounds like set you on a path that took you where you are today.
So what was the stroke?
Oh my God, that's a very good question. I wanted to continue because, we were the first movement of the fifth quartet is many places like we were thinking, and then we heard wonderful recordings from the Wake Quartet, Emerson Quartet, Tokyo Quartet. They played most of these things off string, a little bit off string. And then we got the answer from Denis Koromzai, who was working with this piece with Bartók. Bartók was telling them for the quartet, I think that was the new Hungarian Quartet, is on strings because it's more folky. It's hard to imagine the peasants playing like spiccato. That's, maybe they can. Anyway, but it's another kind of interesting story also from Koromzai about how these young basically just started their career as like they just finished the Academy of Music in Budapest. And the members, I don't know exactly, but that time the new Hungarian Quartet was Sándor Vég, who later founded the Vég Quartet, and definitely Koromzai and Palotai. I mean, they were very young. And the story, Bartók gave the score of the quartet for Waldbar, who was a great violinist, also a great quartet. And the story, I mean, these young musicians, they stole the music and they copied, I don't know how many hours, all four of them. And then they, somehow connected Bartók and asked if they can play the Hungarian or the European premiere of this piece. It's nice. I mean, definitely. And Bartók agreed.
So early musical score piracy before photocopies.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's what, the first hand from Koromzai, who had a, I don't know, relationship with Waldbauer daughter or something. And then he could go to steal this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely sounds correct. And then when the new Hungarian Quartet that time, they started to rehearse. Bartók was there, most of the rehearsal. And I think it was amazing. And like the very, for me, still complicated, the alla Borgolese, the third movement. May I ask something? Did you find any metronome you can manage to practice it with metronome?
Actually, nowadays I have an app on my phone. Actually, I could pull it up for a second. It's already all set up, but you can set it for whatever pace you want and have uneven beats. So.
Oh my, that's, it definitely wasn't the case in 1935 or 36. I don't know exactly, but it's really true. I mean, Bartók was standing on the top of the piano when the new Hungarian Quartet was rehearsing and had a pendulum. And then it for hours, without any rest. I mean, that was interesting.
It's amazing because that's how he marks it. He marks the bar, and he really wants you to feel the large pulse, not necessarily.
Yeah,
the intervals.
I mean, when we practice these movements, especially, I mean, we tried so many methods, but I don't know. It's a little bit crazy, but you know, we played so many times, and then it's got easier.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about a little bit of the trio of this movement, what do you think about this rhythm?
Trying to get the slightly unequal quarter notes, but not entirely, you know, not entirely unequal that it feels like just like a little a limp or something. It has to get just the right feel. Actually, Ross pulled out his uneven metronome, and we were trying to just play along and see if we could get that. It's a little bit of a wiggle. It's not much, but it creates an amazing effect to pull the rhythm from side to side.
When we, of course, I mean, many young quartet students are playing dee-da, 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 and then it's hard to act dee-da, dee-da. It's just like, you know, crazy, but absolutely amazing piece.
And maybe so for everybody watching to clarify what we're talking about here, in the middle section of the third movement, he writes it in, maybe I'll even pull the score up. He writes it in, it's like group, it's like in 10 beats, basically very fast, but 10 beats per bar. And it's divided into a rhythm of like 3 and then 2 and then 2 and then 3. But it's so fast that, like, if you were to play it kind of slowly, you would recognize the difference in the length. And Seraphim's got the score pulled up right here, so we can just show you. There are a lot of notes, and this go by super fast.
3 to 3. Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you even see where the at the bottom of the page, where the viola on the viola line there. So this is the rhythm Károly's talking about, and I think often in Hungarian music you would kind of put more stress, or that seems like the people's first instinct is to put more stress on it, but actually you have to remove the stress and just let it kind of rock unevenly, I think, through the rhythm. And then Michelle has to try to fit all of those little notes.
Yeah. It goes by very fast.
Yeah, that's the spice, you know, a little bit like a drunk person. I don't know. I never been drunk in my life. I don't know.
Never.
But it's definitely is not Hungarian tune. Is you know, from Bulgaria.
There's definitely a Bulgarian influence. The
Definitely.
3 to 2, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just going through the first movement is for us. I don't know about you. It's just it was the kind of difficult, accessible, a little bit barbaric, a little bit Gregorian, and then all this tempo changing. I mean, you know, we had to work so hard, not so hard, but you know, just takes time, because sometimes these unexpected places suddenly change the metronome, and I mean, it's through especially the first and the last movement, which is the last movement is very much as kind of, I don't know, it's like a devilish dance, folk dance. And I mean, we had to play quite a lot of time this piece, and we find out the most important, a little bit lightening the characters, especially the first movement and the last movement. Because if you, of course, it's very, but somehow the sound production is also important, because sometimes I think I'm talking about our quartet, the sound was just the quality was a little bit out of control. And also the same is the last movement, which is a kind of, you know, festivity. No, I was the rum. It's, you know, it's more really folky. And then if we did last, I'm talking about the last one. Sorry, I'm jumping all over, but yeah. No, it's, you know, after years we changed a lot, and it was much more accessible for us.
And you talked about these folk dances, you know, and the kind of character of these, and a couple. So last, you know, 2 guest speakers ago, we had Daniel Hamar from the folk music group Musikash, and you've actually played a lot with the Takács Quartet and Musikash in concert together. What was that like, and how much did playing with them influence how you played the quartets?
That's a good question. I mean, we were again fortunate to work with this folk ensemble because they have amazing knowledge about the folk music. I mean, they also collected tunes, folk tunes, and you know, we had like 50, 60 concerts with them in the US and also in Europe. And then we learned a lot. I mean, maybe Donny already mentioned, I mean, we played the 4th quartet of Bartók, but just one movement, and they try to find, or they find some connection, which was amazing. I mean, it was such a discovery for us. You know, for instance, this, you know, the second movement is a little bit crazy. And then a guy came, Pichu, I don't know, I'm wrong with names, with a long flute, and and that's for us it was inspiring. Definitely it was inspiring, and they find always the best, you know, some connection and the relationship which was equally, I mean, you know, contrast with this, not contrast, it was the same music, but this different style.
I have a question related to that. Károly, when you perform Bartók in Hungary, are people more familiar with Bartók's music at home because they can relate to this music? For example, you know, when you play Tchaikovsky in Russia, people are like, oh yeah, I recognize that little tune, you know. But for example, sometimes this music could be foreign when you play United States. I'm curious if when you play Bartók in Hungary, does it feel different than or Bulgaria or Romania than playing it in the States, for example?
It's a very good question too. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make any statement, but I mean the Bartók quartets, I mean the string quartets in Hungary, maybe it's so silly because, you know, they were not as well received as other parts in the world, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, our very first Bartók cycle was in Lisbon, Portugal, and the most enthusiastic people is always like places like Rio de Janeiro. I mean, we were just worried. I mean, when we played the whole Bartók programs, they would lynch us or something, but this was the best audience. I mean, this was like after a big opera performance or something, and I don't know. I might be wrong about the Hungarian reception, but I don't think we ever played, maybe just once, a complete Bartók cycle in Hungary.
I remember Danielle saying, even in Hungary, it's a dying music. It's being forgotten as the day goes by. I remember him saying that. You know, I mean, it is rubbing some people as a contemporary work, but it isn't old music, you know. It's not a current music, right? So yeah, I think preserving it is our duty as a, you know, our responsibility, perhaps. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for us, playing sometimes, I think maybe we played 3-4 times New York, Cleveland, and Chicago in the orchestra hall, the whole 6 quartets in one evening. Yeah, and it was such a uplifting experiment, because of course, you know, we were just worried, you know, we need energy and everything, but especially New York and Cleveland, it's amazing. It's felt like performing a complete Beethoven cycle. That's, for us, that was the Bartók. And not because we are Hungarians, but I don't know. I don't know, it's just, some in the Chicago, in the big hall, orchestra hall. That was the first time we played all 6 in one afternoon or evening. But that was a little bit kind of funny for us, because they served Hungarian sausage in the intermission and played Gypsy music, which is really, I mean, it's nothing to do with Bartók. But, you know, it's marketing stuff. I don't know.
What was it like
do.
to play all 6? Like, was it a crazy experience, or you know, how did you prepare? Did you have to like go to a massage, you know, before?
No, I mean, you know, I think you have these experiments that the audience, after 5 minutes, you can feel, or I don't know how many minutes but you can feel the connecting with the people, the listeners. And for instance, in New York, in the Alice Tully Hall, it was unbelievable. After play the, you know, first quartet, first movement, or you know, Zataka, not right, but finishing the first quartet, it's just, we really felt some connection with the audience, and then somehow you are just, now it's forgetting you have to play another 5 quartets in the same evening. It's just, you know, somehow we were pushed, and it was a, you know, great feeling. And also in Cleveland.
I have a question. When you perform all 6, did you always perform them in order, or did you ever change the order depending on how the evening would go?
Good question, but somehow, because our quartet was influenced by the Hungarian Quartet, we played 1, 3, 5, and 2, 4, 6, finishing with the 6, you know, the Mesto sad movement. And I don't know, we like this formation, but I know many quartets is playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's nothing wrong with this. I don't know. We definitely wanted to finish with the 6 quartet, and I don't know.
That's awesome. First of all, it's so nice to have you here today, Karchi. You know, looking back, I mean, in my short career, looking back, you know, learning Bartók for the first time in Cleveland with my friends, and now playing all 6, learning with Tesla. Definitely, I feel like I changed a little bit over the course of years the way that I see Bartók's music. You know, from student stage to performer stage. And for you, you know, only been playing with Takash for 40 years, now you're retired and looking at Bartók's music from when you were younger and student and becoming professional performer and a teacher, and now you retire. The whole scope of your life, does your relationship with the Bartók's music has changed ever, or is it always, you know, in a dear place in your heart? Or I don't know. What do you think?
It's such an amazing journey to play the complete Bartók, not one evening, but 2 evenings. That's the usual stuff. And I mean, I don't know, we went through so many stages, you know, playing, and we changed so many things. But okay, I'm really honest with you. I mean, these days, it's very rare when I'm putting a Bartók string quartet just for pleasure or listen. No, I mean, you know, it's just, you can, you know, it's a Beethoven, not the gross fugue, but, you know, Haydn quartet, Mozart and Beethoven, Razumovsky's, I mean, it's okay. You can, no, I don't want to say that's a light music, but Bartók is just different, and you need somehow full focus to listening. You cannot just, you know, have a cup of tea and but it's just seriously whatever I'm saying is my personal stuff, and but it was just an amazing journey to, I think we started to play in 1981, the first Bartók cycle in Portugal. But before Portugal, we just hardly learned with Zoltán Székely in Canada, in Banff. You know, we not even learned, and then some invitation came. These very tiny islands, middle of the Atlantic, is the Azores. And then we played not the complete cycles, but each small, you know, I don't know, town or city, just full Bartók programs. And I remember we had scheduled Bartók 4, start Bartók 4, and we couldn't play it in the first page in the stage rehearsal. And then we just walked back to the hotel and brought Bartók number 3, which we already played. Yeah, I mean, but even these small islands were a very enthusiastic audience, and then, yeah, I mean, I have basically very, very good memories to performing. And personally, I mean, who is playing the fifth quartet, fifth movement, the who is playing this?
That's me.
Okay, I mean, that's almost embarrassing because we're finishing the complete Bartók or whatever, you know, and people are not talking about just, it was so funny, this, it's a kind of, you know, kind of very sarcastic moment of Bartók after this serious, you know, all kind of, no, okay, it's folk music, but it's still very interesting.
And he writes in the music, play with indifference.
Yeah, I definitely, I didn't want, you know, I played most of the time out of tune, which is my standard. No.
You have permission to play out of tune.
Yeah, I've, you know, I had so much fun with this, you know, playing senza vibrato is just like, I don't know. Anyway, good luck with this.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite moments.
Yeah,
that's one of the funniest moments.
I think Bartók did in the concerto for orchestra. It's a huge orchestra, all these brasses, and they're very noisy, and then suddenly the most beautiful, a little bit, sorry, I don't want to hurt anybody, like a Hollywood music. And definitely Bartók wasn't serious about this beautiful melody, was just, again, sarcastic.
And we have a question here from Sonia, who asks, with the intensity of musical concentration that you need to perform Bartók quartets, what happens when you retire? Do you have to decrescendo your commitment, or can you make a total break? And And do you spend time coaching Bartók quartets? So did you wean yourself off of Bartók?
Sorry. Yeah.
Did you just slam the door?
Sorry? Yeah, I'm back.
So now that you're not performing the quartets anymore, and you said that you don't necessarily put them on to listen to when you have your coffee in the morning, but
Yeah.
Have you kind of slowly weaned yourself off of Bartók, or you do still coach the pieces?
I mean, my answer is, I'm doing this more intensive teaching for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And in a very gentle way, the chamber musicians and my individual student, I really try to push Bartók to play Bartók. And honestly, I mean, a couple of groups really good, but they are just not ready. I don't know. They don't want to play Bartók so far. And I tried with the Bartók solo sonata. There's some trying, but
level.
I don't know. Maybe this generation is. I don't know. It's just.
Well, hopefully we can continue the tradition and get people.
Yeah, I will push them until
I'm
around. I will push them to play Bartók. Yeah. But I can understand. I mean, if we wouldn't have these amazing teachers, I mean, not only Zoltán Székely, but the other Hungarian somehow connections, then it would have been much more difficult. It's not impossible, but all these emotional memories about when we start to play, for instance, the first quartet, and we knew something about all these anecdotes from great professors, that's really helped. And and then also these bow stroke things, and then we heard from our professor, he heard from Bartók to play. That gave us confidence a little bit.
I have to ask about your.
To me,
sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. I mean, it's clear to me that you're still living with the Bartók's music, whether you're playing it or not playing it, whether you're coaching it or not coaching it. You still, live with this. You even think about that down to details of the bow strokes.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you're right. I mean, maybe I'm not listening breakfast time Bartók, but I am just hungry. I'm not a bit starving to work, because it's so many, we work almost, 40 years or 38 years with Bartók Quartet. It's so many things in my brain. I try to share it, but yeah, maybe one day.
Nice. Yeah.
I have a quick question about recording. You made this wonderful recording, which I absolutely adore. I love listening to it, even on breakfast. But what's interesting to me, and what I want to ask you, is that Bartók music seemed to require this freedom and kind of wild imagination and a lot of spontaneity, but recording usually requires this perfection and refinement. When you record something, you want to make it as perfect as possible. What I'm curious about, what was it like to record all six, and how can you describe the process? Was it really just sort of easy? You came, you played, you left, or was it crazy experience? You wanted to die and kill each other and things like that. How was it like?
Yeah, I mean, we made 2 recordings of the Bartók sets. The first one was in 1984. And the second one was, I think, when Roger Ranger joined the group in 95, but I'm not sure. But for me, that was a nice memory. I mean, of course, it's extremely hard work, especially the first time. Technically, I mean, we were working like crazy. I mean, as a quartet and also as individual for the recording. And then the recording was just wasn't so difficult. I mean, of course it was, but I felt this, I don't know, maybe it's absolutely rubbish what I'm trying to say. These days I'm thinking some comparison with the Indian music. Is so many rules. I never played, but it's so many rules. I don't know. I just learned about it a long time ago. And then the performance sounds very like an improvisation, like I'm talking with the sitar and then after many, many years performing the Bartók Quartet, that was for us, that was the goal. To just creating after, of course, the technical stuff, be secured somehow. Of course, there's no perfection ever, but it's just like we learned from the Musica and Donny to make like, just like a light music and enjoy it. And then that was an amazing help, just lightening and after working, just let it go. Maybe this.
So how long does it take to internalize something like that? I mean, for Bartók, you can tell in his quartets, compositionally, it took some time for him to internalize his style until it really felt like sort of fully synthesized. But I guess as a player, I imagine it also must take, many, many years, perhaps. I mean, did you feel like it took years or decades?
Decades. I mean, even after the second recording, we have to work about not the notes and the written, but the kind of style. And that's the reason I mentioned the Musica. Somehow we got this, the roots of this music. Bartók was collecting and was living with the farmers and peasants, and that was very important for us to find really that, after two recordings, even if hopefully I will teach, I just go after these ideas. Just one more thing, I think it's just another anecdote, because I'm not, analyzing the piece. There's an anecdote about Bartók. One of the student musicologists in Hungary was analyzing, gave a lecture about for the string quartet number 4. I mean, each bar, and then it was like a 50 minutes lecture. And the young guy went to Bartók after this thing. I don't know, Master or Mr. Bartók, what do you think about my head? And Bartók just did, is it possible? It is possible. I mean, even Bartók sounds like very much, I mean, his brain is not true, because he was full with fire and emotion. I don't know. Yeah.
So even though the music is so complex and intricate and deeply considered in its construction and all of that, do you think that he wasn't slaving over the music, but that it just still came from a place that was more, I don't know, spontaneous and creative? I mean, do you think he worked more like that's where the music comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I heard many anecdotes and also personal contacts with her. Bartók was basically a dry person, and very soft, speak. But the music, I think, is just gave everything, all his real feelings. And there's a mistake, I think is a mistake, like even Zoltán Székely, we studied in Banff with him, the first movement of the quartet number 4. He was honest. I mean, even Bartók was the friends, and he said, "Oh, I don't understand this movement. I don't understand this movement." For him, I mean, it was just too speculative, but whatever. But after we played many times, I like to play this movement as well. I mean, I don't know. It's just, everything is just personal thing.
So we have a question from Gary who asks, will you, and I suppose your colleagues, be putting any of these anecdotes and insights into a book? I know Ed, the first violinist of Takács Quartet, he's been writing a number of books recently. Do you think you will ever, or Takács the quartet will ever kind of have some sort of written compilation of these types of stories?
Oh, that's a good question, but I can tell you the answer is definitely not me. Because I like to read and then remember these stories. I'm too lazy to write it down. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Ed was writing about the Beethoven, of course, and some rehearsal stuff, which is a very good book. But I don't know. I mean, no, I don't think so. That's not, I mean, maybe somebody. I know Dennis Koromzai had lots of anecdotes, and the cellist Judith Glide recorded all his stories and then had a big article in the Strad magazine.
Wow.
But as far as I don't know.
Great. Well, I think we've been through our questions, and I know we fielded a couple from the audience. If anybody else out there watching has more questions they'd like to ask, please feel free. And there may be people who are watching on YouTube too. You feel free to type a question in the comments. Yeah, we can definitely answer more questions. Unless Korchi's got some more stories on his stand there to tell.
No. It's not. I don't know who is this. Sorry. I have to take this call. It's this from Bartók. Béla Bartók. Yes, we are doing fine. No.
All right. Well, then why don't we wrap things up here for the evening? Thank you everybody for joining us for this discussion. And we want to remind everyone that our next event will be Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. We'll have our live virtual open rehearsal where we'll be rehearsing bits and pieces from the string quartet number 5. And you can see that on YouTube. And if you're here watching this evening, that means you've probably been getting our emails. You will get an email with the link on Friday. And Saturday evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time again, we will be doing our next live stream performance of the 5th string quartet. So please join us for those. And I think finally I will say, as we've mentioned before, we're producing all of these activities and concerts free of charge and largely funded by the quartet itself. So if you'd like to help support this project or perhaps future projects like this one, please consider making a small contribution to the Tesla Quartet, and teslaquartet.com/support is the website where you can learn how to do that. We have a fiscal sponsor who can, where you can make tax-deductible donations. You'll find all of that info there. So thank you very much again for joining us. Thank you, Korchi, for.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
For your achievement.
Thank you.
Bravo.
All right. So we will see everybody else later this week. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.